Hopefully that'll correct itself. Bracket number 2. Everybody's got this situation. Buyers in a bidding war, and Jimmy Burgess over here on Inman, who we've covered a few times now. Jimmy, shout out to you. There's 15 tactics, he says, that help them stand out to a seller. We'll go through the 15, but there's one in particular that we wanted to talk about, right, Nicole?
We did.
We did. You did.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm
you
saying
did.
yes.
That would
we
be
did.
you did.
We did.
You did.
I did.
All
yes.
right. Let's get into, he breaks it up into categories. So money being one category. Escalation clauses. Absolutely. I think everybody's using that right now.
I agree with it. It's very interesting, though, because I feel like every time I've had an escalation clause on any of my offers, my sellers are always like, well, if they're willing to take their highest offer, I'll take their contract. So
yeah, they just want to go right to the top.
Let's just go right to it. Yeah.
I don't want to stop at rung number 3. Let's go to rung 10 here. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So.
And you see escalation clauses versus escalation clauses. And I've had this question from new agents like, well, which one is the winner here? It's the one that's the highest. That's the winner. Right. All right. Number 2, appraisal gap guarantees. That's a good one. That's a good strategy.
You have to. I mean, because every seller in this market is asking what will happen if it doesn't appraise.
Yep.
So definitely a smart way to approach it.
If you can take the appraiser out of the equation, that's a valuable approach. Seller closing costs. Is this the one you want to talk about?
Well, this is a very interesting approach, and we talked about it today a little bit in our team meeting. I mean, it's sort of a brilliant move. I mean, obviously, then the seller can decide, because if you're so who has the biggest expenses in a transaction? A seller, right?
Correct.
So here in this situation,
all the expenses, right?
The buyer is offering to pay, well, a majority of them,
a lot of them, but big
yes.
expenses.
Yes, yeah, because of conveyance and all. The buyer is willing to pay some of the seller's closing costs instead of the reverse. I think it's genius. Obviously, in that situation, the seller can decide, instead of you giving me the 1% for the conveyance, let's just, tack it on to the other side, which would be silly too, because then your conveyance and all your expenses go up anymore. But I think it's a great move. I have never seen it on a contract. I actually thought that it was a very interesting thing to process and definitely pass along to the team.
Figure out what's important to the deal. How can I be creative here? Because as Jimmy writes in the article, price is one thing, but the bottom line net to the seller is what really matters. And that's when we're talking about commissions or offers, it's showing them how much money they're going to be getting in a wire transfer into their bank account. That's what they care about.
Right. Yep.
Timing is the next category. Closing date window, right? This is important for a lot of sellers.
Yeah, I think it is interesting. They're kind of recommending you give a range. But I also think that it is really
pick your closing date. Go ahead.
Pretty much. But again, I mean, you talked about in the meeting today, I think you just talked about it a minute ago. I tell every single agent I think over communication right now with listing agents is going to win you the deal. If you've called me 4 times, I know that you're going to communicate me with, during the deal, you're trying to find out what my seller wants, what's important to my seller, and I'm able to actually dictate to them what I want. So I don't know that you necessarily need a window if you are over communicating, but certainly a way to do it if you don't feel like having a conversation with the listing agent.
Over communicating, but the mistake too many buyer agents make is they're doing all the talking at the listing agent. That's a great way to lose the deal. Ask questions, shut up, put your phone on mute if you have to, and listen, actively listen. And the solution to your buyer's problems are often going to lie in the answers that listing agent, if you give them the opportunity to speak, put yourself on mute. Listing agents love to talk. They'll talk all day. They're going to talk and talk and talk and give you information. You can use that information to put your buyer in the best position. So actively listen right now is very key.
Right.
Post-closing move-out date. So, bridging the gap there in terms of we'll close. You can stay in your home for another 2 months. That's a little tricky with attorneys, but that can work. You got to really.
Well, what's really interesting, so I had a
involved.
deal too where one of my sellers was like, well, I'll just rent back for a month after we list it. And I was like, well, but oddly enough, again, this buyer was renting. They wanted the house enough that they could stay in their rental, that was huge for my buyers. Yeah. They're paying a huge premium for the month, but for them it was ideal because the house that they were buying needed renovation. So it's a good way if you can do it.
As is contract, I only recommend this for the more sophisticated buyer. I mean, when I buy real estate, I do an as is contract, like no inspections, none of that stuff. But I'm doing real estate every single day. I'm very in tune to what's going on. If you're a first time home buyer, I never would really suggest an as is contract.
No. And I think that you need to educate your sellers on that though too, because I mean, we have sellers now that hear like, oh, they're doing it for informational purposes only, but it doesn't mean that they're not going to come back to you. Right. But it also, I mean, most good buyers agents are going to put an inspection in there.
And it's not the right solution for everybody. So that it's one solution for, I would say, a smaller segment of buyers. Right. Sellers own home search. So helping them out with their search. What are they looking for? Can I line them up with something? Right. If that's their biggest objection. They can't find a home, So right. if you're going to help that listing agent out.
You have to. Well, especially if it's going to be contingent on them finding suitable housing. Why wouldn't you?
Listen, this is a team effort. The buyer agent, the listing agent. What can we do together? What resources do we have to solve the problem? We're problem solvers. Cash offer. Yeah, of course. If you have cash, sure. That's a good one. All right. Bridge loans. Love this one. Our brokerage, Ravis, does bridge loans. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of bridge loan options out there, but if you can at least have the conversation around a bridge loan, great conversation to have. It shows that you've got more solutions for them. A guarantee penalty. Offer a guarantee that if the sale doesn't close on the set closing day, then you as the buyer's agent will pay the penalty to the seller. No bueno for me as the buyer agent. There's just too many things that are out of your control as a buyer agent.
Way out of your control.
That now you're gonna pay a penalty because the attorney
or because the buyer
COVID.
didn't hand in, or because the buyer didn't give like a bank statement.
Yeah,
no way.
I mean, come on, that one to me. Jimmy's got an example here. Mary Maloney, the founder and owner of Hometown Realty, powered by EXP in San Diego, California, told me she provides a $5,000 guarantee that the home will close on the agreed upon date. I mean, she's got a great relationship with the lender, it says, and that even if she misses one or two transactions, she'd rather win the deal. I don't know, man. I mean, I don't know. California's got a lot of paperwork, and so this is in San Diego, California. I don't like this one at all. I think this is a huge racket. I can't control the attorney. I can't control. We just had a deal that got pushed back 2 weeks because the appraiser's like, I'm 2 weeks out. And so then we had the listing. It was an agent on the team, Lee, had the listing. He goes back to, the banks, the buyer agent to the bank. Can we get a different, and I know this is on the buy side, but I'm just saying.
Different appraiser?
Can we get a different appraiser? The bank says no. Now, I guess this one, Mary says she's got a great relationship with her lender, and maybe she can strong arm them but maybe all the appraisers are 2 weeks out. And now you're getting hung up on 2 weeks where you're paying a penalty, a $5,000 penalty guarantee.
Yeah. Because
the appraisers couldn't get out there. Or they say, you know what? You keep bothering me, little agent. I'll come out there and appraise it. Well, you're not getting the report for 2 weeks because I'm behind on getting my report out to you.
Right.
I don't know. That seems crazy.
I don't know. All right. You got 4 minutes.
Oh, my gosh, I do. Approved financing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. We like that one because I don't have any time. Mm-hmm. Patience. Yes.
Well, this is beyond the offer. You have to have patience. You have to have communication.
Letters.
They're saying letters.
We're saying no. Although
we're saying no to the letters.
I like the cover letter idea, Emily, on our
I did see the cover letter, giving the highlights. I will say that I do get a lot of letters. I don't actually give the letters until after they've accepted the offer, where I can then give them the letter and they can see exactly who's moving into the house. But